Joining us now, Colonel Richard Kemp, Colonel Kemp's former Cobra chairman and British Army commander in Afghanistan. Colonel Kemp, good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning.
Thank you. Right, first of all, the nuclear threat. It's over all the front pages of the papers. And we just heard the Defence Minister, James Heappey, saying Putin doesn't mean it. He doesn't mean it. He's not going to do it. But they said that last week when an invasion of Ukraine was threatened. It was, no, he doesn't mean it. What do you think?
Well, last week he said he wasn't going to invade Ukraine, and then he did. This week he's saying he's going to use, or he's threatening to use nuclear missiles. I suspect it's part of rhetoric rather than real intent. He does have control of the largest nuclear missile force in the world, but he also can't directly press the button himself. He can give the orders, but the action to fire and to initiate nuclear attack is in the hands of the Ministry of Defence, of his generals. Now, it's quite possible they could be complicit with him in carrying out the world's greatest ever atrocity, probably, which could ensue from missile launch, unless it was just done as some kind of a demonstration in the middle of the ocean. But I think it's not a particularly likely threat. But I hope I'm right in saying that. But of course, some people would argue Putin is unhinged and he can do anything.
I just want to ask you, just in the last few moments, seen the breaking news that President Zelensky has appealed to the EU to speed up their accession into the European Union. Look, the situation in Ukraine, we're being told in the next 24 hours is absolutely critical as the Russian troops are circling around the capital, and we understand that this is a decapitation mission. They want to kill Zelensky. Give us a sense then of how likely success is in that sense for Russia, and whether or not Zelensky and indeed the Ukrainians can hold the line against the Russians.
No, I don't underestimate the Ukrainian armed forces, and I think they fought extremely bravely and effectively, so from what we can tell from reports coming via the media. I've also been in touch myself with Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting in the current war, and I would pay tribute to what they're doing. But unfortunately, I don't see a way in which they can prevail here. A lot of people are saying that even after just 4 days fighting, they're surprised that Putin hasn't destroyed Ukraine, and they're saying that he underestimated the Ukrainian army. I don't think either of those two things is true. I don't think he set out to do shock and awe here. I think he deliberately wants to minimize, and I say, it sounds quite counterintuitive to say this, but I think he wants to minimize the amount of casualties he causes on both sides. He doesn't want body bags flowing back into Russia and causing even more problems from there than he's got now. He doesn't want to inflict too many casualties on the civilian population of Ukraine, because he then intends to run Ukraine and doesn't want a massive insurgency going on. So I think for those reasons, he's doing it incrementally. He will use extreme military force if he has to, as we've seen in Syria and Chechnya. But that will be for him, I think, a last resort.
Colonel, really, the body bags, I saw pictures and a report in one newspaper last week that said they actually have mobile crematoriums just to avoid the pictures of bodies actually going back to places like Moscow. But I wanted to draw upon your own experience as Army Commander in Afghanistan and what's happening here. I mean, you had to face insurgents. You had to face the Taliban. With what Putin's got to do, yes, he's got to take ground, but he's got to keep ground as well. Isn't Ukraine's best bet to wage a guerrilla warfare, which would be very, very difficult for the Russian forces to survive after this?
Well, that's what might come out of this. I think it's possible that will be a long-term insurgency campaign. If Putin prevails and if he does occupy the country with his armed forces, I think we will see a large-scale insurgency. And I think if that happens, and even before it happens, we should be preparing to support that. We should provide arms to them. We should provide intelligence to them. We should provide special forces if necessary to advise and assist them. But we should help the Ukrainians turn Ukraine into a quagmire for Putin, because I believe that's probably the only way, if he does succeed in this operation, it's the only way he will be brought down by a disastrous counterinsurgency campaign in which body bags are flowing back to Russia. Now, I don't want to see Russian soldiers, Russian conscripts in particular, killed at the whim of Putin, but unfortunately I think it's the only way in which we can bring Putin down, and Putin, I think, must come down. We can't have his almost insane aggression rampaging across Europe. We don't know what his next target is, so we should be supporting an insurgency if it arises.